right, good morning.
Good morning.
That was nice. I'm going to say good morning to the kids in my house. They're yelling. Does everybody know who I am? I am that one's dad right there. Fortunately, she has to live with me, and she doesn't. I don't let her grammar really get away with anything. So, quick introduction. So I've done this presentation a few times. I've done it in Japan. I've done it in North Carolina. Now I'm doing it here for you guys. How many people in here want to be writers one day? That's a good amount. How many people like to write now? Oh, so everybody likes to write, but you don't want to be writers one day? You just like to write now and then figure something else out? All right. What? So really quick story about me, just so you know who I am, where I come from. I woke up one day in the 7th grade and decided that I wanted to be an author. What grade are you guys in?
5th.
All right, so anybody in this room who has written anything, you're already ahead of me by 2 years. Okay? So just put that in perspective. I didn't get my first novel published until 2007. What year were all you guys born?
2007.
See? There you go. So I waited for all you guys to be born. Right? I got a phone call. They said, that's it. Miss Torba's 5th grade class. They've all been born. Get your first book published. So no, I started writing in 7th grade. I started writing my own short stories, and it took me up until 2007 to get my first book published. And my 5th novel is now coming out next month. It's not not Stephen King, who pops 2 out a year. But you know, I still have somewhat of a career, and it was something I wanted to do when I was a little bit older than you guys. And I said that I wanted to do this and make money, so I didn't have to go to a real job. I was waiting for laughs, but that usually only adults laugh at that. It didn't quite go as fast as I wanted it to go, and even though I was getting books published, so I decided to become a professional editor. You guys know what an editor does? Yes. What is it? Good. What is an editor? Just throw it out. I don't need hands. That's right. An editor, exactly right. So what I do is, in between writing my own books, authors, before their books come out in the bookstore, they send me their books, or I get hired by the publishing company, or they pay me on their own to make sure that their book is perfect. Okay? I make sure that all the grammar is right, all the punctuation is right, that they don't say that John put on a blue coat this morning and then when he got home he took off his black coat. Stuff like that, things that are all, you know, I'm sure you guys know some movies where you found some mistakes and you go, hey, they were wearing a, you know, whatever, and now they were, okay, so that's part of my job. Another part of my job, though, is to know the English language almost as perfectly as I can, because these are books that are going to be on the bookshelves. And if somebody finds an error, guess who gets blamed? You. The author.
Guy.
I do. And then guess who won't hire me the next time? Okay? So my editing job requires me to know everything about grammar and punctuation, sentence structure, and all that stuff. So you guys have been learning a lot about grammar and punctuation, right?
Yes.
All right, so what punctuation ends a statement, a sentence?
A period.
What punctuation ends a question?
Question mark.
What punctuation ends somebody yelling?
Exclamation mark.
What punctuation ends the last sentence of dialogue if there's a dialogue tag?
Quote.
What goes right before that?
Comma.
Who said comma is correct? If you said period, then you would get a big red mark on your manuscript and I would send it back to you. Okay, so there's a lot of things that I need to know. How you guys, anybody here know what passive voice is? You will in an hour. Everyone in this room will be an expert in passive voice. My wife despises passive voice because she can't figure it out to save her life, so I did all of her school papers for her.
That's what my dad does.
All right. I got some notes. I'm an idiot. So again, you guys are in 5th grade. That's awesome. I was in 7th when I decided to do this, and now I make a living at my book sales and my editing. So I was a police officer. I was a police officer. I was a cop for many years while I wrote on the side. I was out there, you know, fighting crime, putting bad guys in jail, helping old ladies across the street. Until I woke up one day and realized that my book sales were equaling my police officer paycheck. I said, you know, it's a lot less dangerous to sit at home and write than it is to go out and chase bad guys through the backyards. Plus, I was getting too old. Yes?
When you first became a cop, you have to spray pepper.
I got pepper sprayed to become a cop. Yeah, so I had to be sprayed and I had to be tased.
Yeah.
Yes, and if anybody, yeah, in fact, my tasing, me getting tased is online. You can go see it if you type in my name, and you'll hear me scream really bad words as I'm being tased. But yes, I did. But anyway, so I was a police officer, and I was able to quit that and now write full time and edit full time. So I've edited 300 books that are out there in the world that have my name on it. I'm editing 3 right now for people, and like I said, my 5th book's coming out next month. So that's a little bit about me. You guys have any favorite authors? Who's your favorite author? Yes. That's not my name. Who's your favorite author? Not my name. What's your favorite author?
Annalise.
Not my name. Annalise, who's your favorite author?
Brian Paley.
There you go. All right. So, no, but the point is that who's your favorite author? Okay, who's your favorite author?
Max Brownier.
All right. So when I was growing up, my favorite author, around your age, I discovered a guy named Stephen King. So I read my first Stephen King book, which was called The Dark Half. And I got to the end of that book, and I said, this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to make people feel like I felt reading this book. So, but the good thing is that everybody has different favorite authors, right? You could ask everybody in here what your favorite movie is, who your favorite band is, who your favorite author is, and there's going to be some that are going to be the same, but for the most part, everyone's going to have a different favorite. And that's what's so great about art, is there's always going to be an audience for you. All right. Give me 1 second. We are going to play, all right. We're going to play a quick game called Show, Don't Tell. Have you guys ever heard that? Show, Don't Tell?
It's like show and tell, but you
It's
just
not, no. Okay.
Show,
Show, Don't Tell.
Oh, it is. You don't show your tail.
Here's the difference between a great author and an author that will probably sell 5 copies of their book, probably to their parents, their next door neighbor, and like their Uncle Bob, and then never write another book. A great author learns how to show and not tell the reader what's going on. Now, here's the problem we have as authors. When you watch a movie, you're seeing people running around, right? You're seeing superheroes flying through the air. You're seeing the shadowy, scary figure at the end of the hall, right? You're seeing these things, okay? But how do I show you that with using just words on a piece of paper if there's no pictures? So I'm not talking about the books that you open it up and like the dinosaur jumps out and you go, ah, and then you turn the next page, right? I'm talking about novels. I'm talking about novels. So how do we use just words to get you to see the superhero flying through the air, right? That's our biggest problem as authors. And that's what separates a great author from an author that's gonna have a really short career or never get picked up by a publishing company. So a couple of hands up. So you had your hand up first, right? No worries. If you remember, just like stand up and yell, I remember!
I think he was asking one of those questions, you guys, that he's going to answer himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's called a rhetorical question. Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
I think you can actually picture them with words by using descriptive words and saying like, oh, this magical horrid beast is at the end of the hallway or something.
Right. So that is, you're absolutely right. So that's one way to do it. But go ahead.
Make it even easier. The reader just has to have a bigger imagination.
Well, the burden shouldn't be on the reader. The burden is on the author. I shouldn't expect you to have any imagination at all. In fact, if I did my job correctly, I could get a monkey to see what I want him to see. Okay, that's my job. If I can't do that, then I failed. So this is how we do Show, Don't Tell. Okay, and this is author number 1. So anybody in here who wants to be an author one day, or if you just want to write and you want your stories to be better, Okay, I'm gonna give you the golden ticket right now. This is for free. I usually charge people for this information. So, okay, you ready for this? Who? I need a volunteer. I need somebody.
Smart and no, he's not.
So smart people intimidate me.
I'm not smart.
You're not smart? Okay, come on up. Get back. All
Yeah.
right, what's your first name?
Eunice.
Spell for me.
Y-O-U-N-E-S.
Y-O-U-N-E-S. Okay. All right, you're not going to do anything yet. All right, so you're reading a book. Eunice is the main character of the book. Okay, the scene is his birthday, and you read in the book, Eunice is happy because he got it. Maybe he got whatever he wanted, right? Eunice is happy. Now, is that exciting?
No. Boring.
I mean, are you gonna like yawn and then try to go take a nap, right? There's nothing happening, okay? Now,
That's like a
if you were watching a movie, okay, and right before the main character got really happy about something, the movie stopped, and some guy in a suit stepped in front of the TV and went, Eunice is happy, and then played the movie again, and you never saw him being happy, would that be boring?
Yes.
So that's the problem authors fall into. An untrained author likes to fall back on telling us what everybody's feeling or thinking. Okay, this does not make for good writing. I don't want to know that Eunice is happy, I want to see it. I want to see that he's happy. Okay? In fact, I don't care that he's happy. And I only don't care because you're just telling me.
Right.
I want to be in the room with Eunice while reading that book. And I want to see him happy, and then I want to feel happy too. I care less that he's happy. Doesn't make me happy, not yet. Okay? So, be happy. So you just opened, you can't talk, you just opened what's the one thing you want in the whole world?
Car when I'm old enough.
Okay, so let's say today's your birthday, and your parents bought you a car and said, you can't drive it till you're old enough, but you have a car. So, show us. What would you do? How would you act?
Yay.
So Eunice is making my novel even more boring. That's okay, we can work with that. So, what did you see him do?
Jump up and down.
Jump up and down. What else do we see him do? Yelled. Right? What else did you see him do? I noticed one more thing. Smile, exactly. Smile, right?
He
All right.
smirked.
So we can either be a bad author and say, Eunice went out to the garage and he saw his new car that his parents wanted for his birthday, and Eunice was happy. End chapter, chapter 3. Boring, right? I don't care. I didn't even know what Eunice did to be happy. But now we say, Eunice went out to the garage and saw the car that his parents bought for his birthday. And Eunice jumped up and down, and he smiled, and he yelled, yay! I never used the word happy at all. But what did you see and think how do you think he is? You immediately know he's happy, right? So I've shown you in your imagination, because you can picture somebody jumping up and down, and you can picture them smiling, and you can picture them saying yay, right? But I never used the word happy. I never told you. I did not tell you how he felt. I showed you. You guys see the difference? This right here is one of the biggest problems of people who want to be authors and why they fail. Because they never learned how to do this. They want to explain, and so as an editor, some of my clients hate it when I do this, but I call it History Channel narrator voice. Okay, has anybody ever watched a documentary on like lions or you can sit down. Thank you, Eunice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're happy. Right? We've all seen documentaries on whatever, right? So here we go. We're gonna watch a documentary on lions. On the TV is the lion and the lion cub, right? And then there's a guy off to the side that you can't see. And the lioness is walking through the grass, if it's called. And it's spotted. Okay, that's telling me that all the narrator's doing is what? He's telling me what I'm seeing on the screen, right? And now the lion is scared, and now it's running. right? That's all, right? So bad authors do that. I call it History Channel narrative voice. The moment I feel like you're telling me what's happening, okay, it's bad. Bad narrative, needs to go. I want to be in the grass with those lions, probably screaming and peeing myself and running. I've now realized that I'm in grass with lions. But it separates an author who makes you scared when you read their book, or makes you happy when you read their book, or makes you feel like you're in Harry Potter's world. Okay? They're not telling you what's going on. They put you in there as a character, as an invisible person in the room at all times. Okay? Anybody have any questions on the show Don't Tell? Does anybody want to do another one? Okay. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Alright. Let's see. We're gonna pick surprise. Spider-Man was... Alright, so question. Pop quiz, everybody. Eunice is happy. What?
That doesn't look like surprise. It
Well,
looks
you
like
know how bad I write. Eunice is happy. Spider-Man was surprised. What's the difference between those two sentences in tense?
They're past tense and present tense.
Eunice was in what tense?
Present.
Present, right? Is. It's happening right now. He is happy. Was is what? Alright, because it happened earlier. Alright, ready? So Spider-Man was surprised. Alright. Good, be surprised. Okay, so what do we see Spider-Man do? Open his mouth.
gas. Maybe he gasped.
Maybe he gasped.
That you're spelling ghost.
Why? I get paid to think words like that. Yes.
Instead of describe, we could go like.
Right. So we call that the Home Alone. You want to see Home Alone?
How can Spider-Man do when he has a mask on?
He can't see his mouth.
Probably.
No.
Sure. He stretches it, right?
You do you, Papa.
Okay. It's Spider-Man when he's got the costume on, but he hasn't put the mask on yet.
There you go.
Great description. Fix the problem.
So again, my point of this is to show you that with almost any emotion, we can come up with at least 3 or 4 things every time. Okay? And horror novelists have... So, you guys know what the most popular genre of novel is?
Horror.
Nope, you're all wrong. Nope, you're all wrong.
Romantic.
There you go, romance. There is more sales in romance novels a year than any other genre. Yep. It's a very, very small niche. I wouldn't say too many. All right.
Why would you want to see somebody doing that? It's like,
I know, right? It's disgusting.
why romance?
Why romance?
Why romance? Why can't it be like why can't it be fantasy? Why can't it be like sesame? Why can't it be dark?
All right. So there's something else to be said for tightening up your narrative, okay? Which means there's a couple. Hold on. Yeah. So deleting unnecessary words, right? And this is one of the biggest things that new authors and authors fall into. They like to use the word very, and then
Very
something
much.
else. Okay. Very is an awful word. I hate the word very. If I get hired to edit your novel, it'll be the first thing. I'll do a Control F search on very, and they will all go away. Because in the English language, one of the great things about the English language, and you won't realize this until you're adults, because you probably all hate the English language right now. One of the greatest things about the English language is that we have a word for everything, and then some words we have 2 or 3 other words for that word, and it alters it just enough where it's a better version, okay? So, if I come across this in a book, what am I going to change that to?
Cold. Really cold. Freezing.
Get rid of really, get rid of very, freezing. Okay? I'm really bad at writing. I'm awful at penmanship. Okay, so if I am very angry, I do what?
Furious.
Furious. That's what I'm looking for. Right. Very hungry is what?
Hangry.
Angry.
Hangry.
Starving is a good one.
Hangry.
Hangry, okay. Let's go with that.
Starving.
Starving. How about this? My favorite word, I like even better than starving. Starts with an F.
Famished?
There we go, famished.
I am famished.
You guys know that word, famished?
Yeah.
So, do you guys know the difference between starving and famished? Because there is a difference.
Starving means that you're like, I'm so hungry and
Starving is actually a medical condition. Starving is a medical condition that you have not had enough food, and you actually have your body not working anymore. Famished just means that you're really hungry. But we use starving. We just throw that word around all the time. But it's incorrect every time you say starving. You're not starving. If you were starving, then you would be like 60 pounds in the hospital,
Oh my gosh,
hooked up to an
I
IV.
do that word all the time. Thank you for clarifying this. You are not starving, you just ate it 10.
Yes, right. You're not starving. You might be famished, because famished just means that your body is looking for food and you get that grumbly. Yes. So, yeah. All right. What about very quiet?
Quietly.
Silent. Right. Fine.
Frosty the snowman.
Okay. So again, I show you guys that anytime you use the word very and then something, you can probably pick a better word. Okay? Or, you know, if that's, right. You guys see that? We good to go on that?
Yeah.
Right. We are going to do,
I love that you're taking notes.
did I what? Oh.
Your writers back here are taking notes. That's okay. You know your brain, you know what it is.
All right. Here's a little bit more, we're going to go a little bit more advanced. This is kind of edited stuff now.
All right, get ready.
All right? You guys know what filler words are?
Yeah, it's like filling for words that are horrible. I guess.
Good guess, yes.
Fillers are things that are not important to the main story.
Filler words are words that you don't need. Okay, filler words are words
Then
that
why
if you
do-
got rid of them.
Why don't those words exist then if we don't need them?
No, because they still have a place in some sentences.
So
Filler words are words that if you got rid of it, it would not change the meaning of the sentence at all. Or you could replace it. You could replace a string of filler words with just one word. Okay, and so, for example, there is a tomato. A tomato. Yeah. There is a tomato on his head.
On the voice.
There is are the filler words. You don't need them. Okay? I'll show you why. Take this away. And move this here. The tomato's on his head.
That's more interesting.
Okay? And the reason why we do this is because is there or tomato what we're talking about? We're talking about tomato. So why isn't tomato first? Why'd you throw in an unnecessary noun that has nothing to do with the sentence? But how many times do you say, hey, there was a, I don't know, whatever. It was
giraffe on a
it was a giraffe.
plane.
There's a giraffe in my room. How many times have you guys said that? I say that all the time.
I do.
There's a giraffe in my room. You guys don't have giraffes in your room? So when you're writing, Anytime you see there is or there was, right? Or anything that starts with there, you can take that out. And you can move your linking verb somewhere else in the sentence. Sometimes when you do that though, it makes the sentence sound really weird. And then this is when, yes, it makes it sound unnatural. So the moment you change a sentence and it sounds weird, then just leave it. Okay, like something like there was.
Question mark, question mark.
Okay, you know what? No, we'll do this. Hey, there's my hat. Well, what am I gonna do? Hat is mine, right? It doesn't, it feels weird. Yeah, but all you've done is you've kept there. I guess what I'm saying is that there's sometimes, it doesn't. How about going to?
I am going to go to my.
No, that's a verb, so that's okay. So,
They're going to.
I'm going to
Morocco.
help you later. I'm going to help you later. All this can go, okay? How about, I'll help you later. Yeah, I'll help you later. You're going where? You're going to go where to help me? Right? So, the English language, we have picked up all these like really bad habits when we speak. But in writing, they should not be there, unless it's in dialogue. And the reason why is because you want your book or your story to sound like people really talk. Okay? So there's 2 separate rules for dialogue and then the narrative, which is when people aren't talking. Okay? There's actually 2 completely separate rules. So you're like, really? This is crazy. I'm teaching you this. All the stuff I'm telling you is about narrative, when people aren't talking. Okay? But when people are talking, you want it to sound like people really talk. So you want to leave in all of these wrong things when people talk. Because if it sounds perfect, then no one's going to believe that these people are really talking like this. But I'm going to help you later. Or I'll help you later. Okay? You see how I got rid of all this?
Yeah.
Okay? So filler words. All right. All right. So we're gonna do. Will we do this?
What are you gonna do?
Almost at the end.
Almost at the end. Okay.
It's like 2 more major things, main things. All right, ready?
I know, isn't that cool? I'm learning so much.
Passive voice. Who knows what passive voice is?
I like neutral voice and a monotone.
No, not the way you talk.
Like a very.
How you talk.
Do you guys know passive voice?
Your
is?
I know
attitude.
what passive means, but I
Now I'm scared, so I don't.
Passive voice.
Talking to an editor, I'm not gonna tell you what I think passive voice is.
Passive voice is when the subject of the sentence comes after the predicate.
What's predicate?
Predicate is the main verb of the sentence, the main action. Okay. So this is my favorite example of passive voice. And this is the one that Stephen King uses to teach. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Stephen King, when he's not authoring, he's actually a teacher at Orono State University in Maine. And I learned this from him. The way you know if something is written in passive voice is if you can add by zombies to the end of the sentence. Yes, if you can add by zombies to a sentence, the sentence is in passive voice and it needs to be changed. You
Wait,
ready?
I need a question for you.
My town is being attacked.
The donut was eaten. If I add by zombies, does that sentence make sense?
Yes.
That's in passive voice. That is a terrible sentence. So how do I fix that?
I know.
The donut was eaten by a human.
You ready?
The zombie ate the
So
donut.
this is passive voice. We want it an active voice, okay? Because you want everything to be action, active, active,
The
active,
zombie ate
active.
the donuts.
The zombies ate the donuts,
I know what zombies eat.
okay?
And guts.
And guts.
The zombie.
So the zombie rule is something if you keep in mind, you will never write another passive voice sentence in your life. And you're like, well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? I don't care. Why does that matter? Why is that important? A couple reasons. All of your papers that you will be writing when you guys go to college are now required to be an active voice. Something new over the last couple of years. This is why I edit my wife's papers, because she can't get passive voice to save her life. Even with the by zombie thing, it confuses her. But novels are written in active voice. Okay? You try reading a book where it is in this format, and you'll be exhausted by like 4 pages, because you never know who the heck's doing anything. Okay? Sometimes you don't need to add by zombies because the by is already there. Okay? She was being attacked.
By zombie.
Well, we're gonna so let's say you were reading a book and it came up to, and she was being attacked by bees. Is that in passive voice? It's in passive voice because the thing doing the action
The bees were attacking her.
is last. I want to know what's doing the action first.
The bees were attacking her.
Because that is going to tell me who's doing the action. So if I see she was being attacked by, and then the page shut off, you would never know. You'd be like, well, what was attacking her, right? Okay, so in order to make this into active voice, you would write, bees were
Attacking her.
attacking her.
It's also
Or, if you really want to put your editor caps on, were attacking can be crossed off, and you can shorten it to just attacked. Because was, verb, ing, is bad writing. If you're talking about past tense. Past tense should always be, I'm just like,
Oh my gosh, needed you for college.
what?
I needed you for papers too. That's awesome.
So, passive voice, if it doesn't already end with by, but you can add by zombies, because who doesn't love zombies, right? And you can add anything you want. Right? If you don't like zombies, but you like something else, who in here doesn't like zombies? All right, well, what do you like better than zombies? What do you like better than zombies? Cats?
Yes.
So anytime you're writing, when you're reviewing what you write, if you can add by cats to the end of it, it's passive voice, you gotta change it. Cats have gotta go first. Yes.
So then that means you're not allowed to read her books because you're allergic to cats.
I am allergic to cats.
And then
I
you'll
cannot
sneeze
read
on
your
her
books.
book.
That's absolutely right. I'm so allergic to cats, if I read about them, I have to go to the hospital. Yes. By what? Minions from like Despicable Me? See, if you could, my point being is you can put anything, but if you can add by something, then it's a passive voice. You guys want to hear something else?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love this one, and this one kills me. I get so many novels and stories sent to me to edit that look like this. Ready? Go over there. Oops.
my god.
Said Mike. Do you know that's wrong?
Yes.
Why is that wrong?
Because that's wrong.
Because why?
It doesn't say where he's going.
Nope. Don't worry. Oh, I spelled this wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Thank you. I was going to write a different sentence and I chose to. All right. What? Why is this wrong?
You have to add a comma.
This is wrong. Why is that wrong? No, action tags go in the beginning. Dialogue tags tend to go in the end. Yes. Nope. This is in passive voice. The predicate is first and the subject is second. Mike said is correct. Because again, the predicate is first and the subject is last. That's wrong. It's passive voice. Children's books, little kids' books, like when you're 3, 4, 5 years old and your parents are reading to you at night, is all in passive voice. Because it's easier for a child to understand when there's a break between dialogue and then a verb and then a character. Problem is that as we grow up, we remember what we read as in children's books, and so now grown adults are writing dialogue in passive voice. And then I get paid big bucks to go in and change them all, because it's wrong. Yes?
I've read a book that doesn't even have like Mike said or this kid said.
You don't have to have them. In fact, I take a lot of them out, books I edit, because if you have 2 people talking in a conversation, why do I need to know who's saying what if I can follow along with the conversation, right? Adding the said, so those are called dialogue tags. Mike replied, Mike said, Mike exclaimed, Mike, retorted, Mike whatever. Those are called dialogue tags. Dialogue tags get really boring. Do you want to read a book that says, "Hi," said Mary. Well, "Hello," said Mike. "How is your day, Mike?" said Mary. Mike said, "My day is good, Mary." Mary said, I probably, yeah. So when you have a conversation with either two characters or even just three characters, you can get rid of all those dialogue tags, and it makes it go like this. It makes the conversation feel real. It makes it feel like you're in the room listening to these people talk. Yeah. You guys know what an action tag is? So a dialogue tag is the Mike said, Mike replied, Mike did that, right? An action tag is when a character does something, but you don't say that they were saying anything. So an action tag would be like, Mike poured a cup of coffee. Do you want some? Anywhere did I say that Mike said or asked anything? No. So an action tag comes before a dialogue, and then you don't use said or asked or anything like that, but he does say something. Do you know that Mike said that?
Yeah.
You know that Mike said that because there's an action tag before it of him doing something. Okay? So poor writing is when authors go, Mike poured a cup of coffee. Do you want some? Mike asked. Well, no bleep Mike asked it, because he just poured the cup of coffee and it's on the same line in the book.
So cool.
I hope no one's offended that I said bleep. All right.
Oh my God, we're being better writers already.
What?
I don't even say any
What?
My mind is blown. Yeah, you too. Good.
All right.
Seems like put a word in there like.
Do I have like 10, 15 more minutes? Are we all right?
Or
Okay.
anything. Yeah, please keep
So,
going.
Yeah, 50 minutes.
how about this? When you're reading a book, right? How many? Do you ever come across? We'll keep using Mike. So, Mike
I was in Stranger Things.
started to walk across the street. You know why this is wrong?
Because bored.
Because he didn't put it, it was an active thing of my power.
It's not an active thing of power.
Wait, I got
Why?
because to make it more better, I was thinking maybe we could you walk across every street, so another street.
I think you're on the right track. Right, I'm going to show you something. Ready? Started to, began to. Mike, I'm so sorry, my writing is terrible. Can go away. You know why? Because the moment you start to do something, what are you doing? You're doing it. There's no reason to do this. So you could put Mike walked across the street. The only time that you will ever put started to or began to is if they're stopped before they can complete it. So Mike started to walk across the street, but stopped because a car went by real fast. Okay? So this started to and began to are all filler words, and it slows down the action for the reader. Okay? She found out that her father died, and she started to cry. So she started to, but stopped. Well, what stopped her? Well, nothing. She started to cry. Well, all you've told me is that she started to do it. You didn't actually tell me she cried. You've only told me that she started to cry.
What about the cause and the effect? The cause is that her grandfather died, and the effect is that she started crying. Is that...
This is not science class. Thank you.
Wait, what?
So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? If you start to, you're telling me that they only started to do it, but they didn't actually do it. Okay? I started to change a light bulb. Meant I climbed the ladder, and as I was reaching up, somebody stopped me, and I never actually changed it. That is starting to. But if I climb the ladder and change a light bulb, then you're going to write, climb the ladder and change the light bulb, because that's what I did. Okay? This is a big pitfall that a lot of authors fall into. They love starting to and began to, because they feel like they need to tell the reader that they're now doing it. Well, if they're now doing it, then guess what? They're doing it.
They never stop.
Yeah.
Unless they get stopped before it is completed, then don't do started to or began to. All right, I'll send everybody a bill in this class.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
where
joking.
can we go? Alex, is that still recording?
Yeah.
Great. All right, who knows what this is? This is my favorite diagram in the world.
Oh, I know.
You guys know what that is? Anyone see that before? Yeah? A heartbeat, like in a hospital? This is what it looks like when I have tacos. Really excited.
Yeah, that's what I like when I have extra chips.
Yeah? See, everybody's got that one food that makes their heart. Yes?
Like the action, like it goes up and up until it's at its peak, then like drops back down.
This is what every story looks like. If you had to draw it. This is what every movie looks like.
Yeah, it does.
Okay?
Like
So, what are some of your favorite movies?
Avengers Endgame.
What?
Avengers Endgame. Black Panther.
Oh, pick a good one.
Black Panther.
Alright. So, yes, Annalise.
my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies is Avatar because it's so long.
Yes, I know that. What's your favorite movie?
Starving.
Right. Your favorite movie? What? Oh, yeah. What's your favorite movie?
Endgame.
Okay. Right. Not Spider-Man? You have the wrong shirt on. Oh, really?
Which one?
Okay. So, since Star Wars is my favorite movie, I think we'll use that one as an example. I'm also wearing my Death Watch, my Death Star watch. Yeah.
Wait, the
Yeah.
actor? Oh my god.
Yeah. So you guys want to hear a really quick story about Chewbacca?
Yeah, I love Chewbacca dies.
So the guy who played Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew.
He dies.
Yeah, I picked him up from an airport once, and I drove him, and I had to drive him from the airport to a hotel. And on the way, he got hungry, so he asked if we could stop for a Chinese food buffet. And him and his wife and me, we had lunch together. And at the time, I had a Scion XA, which is like about the size of a Matchbox car. So Peter Mayhew is 7'4", 7'8", whatever. And his wife had to sit behind me because he had to push the seat as far back as he could in my car, and his knees were still bent.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is just so.
Why is he playing basketball?
No, honey, he's just. I don't know.
Yeah.
If he played basketball. He just
Anyway, so but he was definitely one of the nicest people I've ever been able to spend an afternoon with, and
so nice.
Did you do the Chewbacca?
All right.
Wait, I want to see how this
I
works.
thought it was your children.
okay, so this line here is way down here, right? We call this the exposition. Okay? Right, exposition. That's when you don't know anything about anybody as a reader or watching a movie. You don't know anything. Okay? You open up to page 1. Yeah, but we're not talking about sequels, because sequels follow a slightly altered version of this. It's similar, but we're not talking about sequels. So you open up to page 1, or you press play, or the movie starts, or whatever, and you don't know anything about anybody. Okay, so this line here is when you get to getting to know, is when you learn about people. Okay, you learn people's names, you learn who they are, who belongs to who, you learn what planet we're on, you learn all that boring stuff in order for stuff to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Some books, some movies, this line's really short. Okay, because it could be on page 3 or in the first 7 minutes, boom. Okay, I only drew this line just so I could write, but this doesn't have to be any specific length. Does anybody know what this is right here?
A corner.
This is my favorite. This is
That's a.
you're grounded. Yes.
It's an obtuse angle.
It is an obtuse angle.
No, it's
No, it's not. It's not an obtuse angle. Is it?
It's not just.
I am terrible at. I'm so bad at math that I can't even help Annalise with her math homework.
Oh my god.
She comes to me and she's like, "Papa, I really need help with this." And I look at it and then I slowly, I just like back out of the room like this and hope she doesn't notice. So,
What would that be in the story, guys?
this is called the trigger incident. There has to be something
A plot.
that sets everything in motion. And it can be something really, 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 really small. Okay?
Like a
or it can be
cookie.
something huge.
A ball.
Okay?
Like the earth is about to blow up.
Well, the trigger incident would be, why is the earth about to blow up? Okay?
Because someone wants to destroy it.
This here,
Please feel
like a
this,
roller
Stefan
coaster.
And Kayla. Kayla and Stefan. And Kayla's-
this here is called the rising action. Okay, it's kind of self-explanatory. Rising action. Okay? Because this is when tensions start building, right? People are trying to figure out why this happened or how to stop this from getting worse. Or okay, this is going to make up the middle of your book, the middle of the movie. What is this peak?
The climax.
The climax.
Another corner.
You're grounded for 2 weeks. The climax, that is when whatever made this start to rise gets resolved, right? Okay. And we come down a little bit, and this is the what? This is the rising action, this is the
Climax.
falling action.
I know that.
And this is the
And
resolution. All right, so...
for like New Year's Eve.
yes. 3 weeks. So let's take Star Wars. We'll just take Star Wars. Okay?
Bow, bow, bow.
The exposition, right? We're gonna start with. We'll open it up with. We'll open it up with the original Star Wars. Okay. So they're on the Death Star, right? Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers come through the blast doors, and they're running around, and we don't know anything yet. We don't know who Darth Vader is. We don't know who Stormtroopers are. We don't know who this funny-looking lady with these cinnamon buns on her head are. Right? We don't know what these weird-looking robots are. We don't know, but we're interested, right? It's I mean, there's people shooting. It's like, this looks cool. Still not the trigger incident. This is still the exposition. Okay. The trigger incident in the first Star Wars movie is when they shoot R2-D2 and C-3PO. They jettison them out with the plans of the Death Star, because that's what happens to make all the rest of the movie take place. Okay. So as soon as that happens, everything after that is the rising action. Okay, we got Han Solo, we got Luke Skywalker hiring Han Solo to fly him around, and everything else. Now the climax of that first Star Wars movie, you guys have all seen that Star Wars movie, right? I'm not talking to like... The climax of that first Star Wars movie is what? What do you think it is?
I haven't watched it in a while. I watched it.
When they blow up the Death Star,
Yeah.
right? That takes care of everything. The climax is kind of when the main characters can do this.
Like, I'm done.
I'm done. Right?
The story begins.
The falling action in Star Wars is actually really, really short. The falling action in Star Wars is when they all come back from blowing up the Death Star.
And
They're all
celebrate.
getting out their X-Wings, they're all hugging each other. Okay? That's not resolution yet. That's just the falling action. We've taken a breath. Oh my God, are they going to do it? Are they going to blow up the Death Star? Oh, they did. Okay. The falling action is that, like, that's why this line is so short. It usually only happens really short. Okay. And if you guys ever watch the movie really, really closely, can somebody watch that Star Wars?
Yeah.
When Luke Skywalker comes down off of that ladder and he sees Princess Leia's real name in real life is Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
He messes up his line and he yells, "Carrie!" when he hugs her, and they never took it out of the movie. Yeah. So if you listen real closely, he yells, "Carrie!" just like that, and then they hug, and then they're all excited, and they didn't catch it until post-production, and they couldn't reshoot the scene.
I've seen that movie like 20 times. Like,
Yeah, he yells, "Carrie!" Look at the watch
Yeah,
that.
no wonder.
And there's also a scene when C-3PO and R2-D2 are trapped in the Death Star control room, and the last stormtrooper through the room hits his head on the top of the thing, and they left that in too.
I saw that. Yeah.
The resolution in Star Wars is the big award ceremony,
Oh yeah.
okay, on Yavin, when they all get their medals except for Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why doesn't Chewbacca get that?
MTV rectified that back in the 90s. They
Good,
gave him a medal.
thank you.
But so you can put this to any movie.
That's cool.
We learned who everybody is. What's that one moment that sets everything in motion? This line's the longest because this is gonna be the most of your book, the most of your thing, right? If I
Can we do another Star Wars movie?
we do another Star Wars movie?
Yeah, like Snoke. I have a question.
Yes.
What was the first Star Wars movie called?
Well, the first one that was ever released was A New Hope, but the first episode is Phantom Menace. So that question's got two answers. I'm talking about episode 4, A New Hope, which was the first one that was ever made. Yes. So to turn this on, I just hit power.
Have you seen it?
No, it's already on.
Oh, Oh, look, there's my hand.
With a ring on it.
Yes, I did.
And then there's a spinny silver wheel where you can zoom it in and zoom it out.
Oh, look, he's got that right there. That's cool.
All right, so there we go. So that's a much better look than I drew, but as you can see, now they have the falling action at the same height. I disagree with that. I think if your falling action is the same length as your rising action, people are going to shut off the movie and go. I mean, could you imagine if the falling action was, you know, an hour and a half of people like congratulating each other and. All right. So I'm going to show you something real quick. This is an excerpt from a novel that I'm editing for a client right now. I want to show you what it looks like when I edit a page.
You can.
It's okay, we'll get there. You'll get it. Once he gets it under there, you can do all
Oh,
this.
jeez, Meg.
And then if you push that
Oh, I think that's the
autofocus
right
button, and try not to move the page when you push the
I
autofocus.
can't tell if it's green.
It is, you're on there.
It's good, it's good.
Okay. So
Give it a second, you guys, it'll come in. It's coming, Miss Torba's coming.
It's an actual book.
Miss Torba to the rescue!
The rescue is
Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, it's coming out. It's getting better.
You are so smart, it's the sunlight that blocks it out.
all right. So this
Alright, sit here.
this is a page of a client's novel that I'm editing right now. This is after I've edited it. So this is post editing. Okay, this is not what it looked like when I got it. This is all correct. Okay, I've corrected it. This is what it looks like if you're ever to become an author, right? And you get an editor.
Imagine getting that back.
So this is my notes. This is everything on that one page that was wrong. All the red is me and all my notes on the
Look
side.
at that.
This is a normal page.
Imagine finishing your book, sending it off, thinking it's great, and then you get this back, like, what?
And so this is average. I have some clients that are worse than this. The whole thing is red
Oh my
because
gosh.
because they don't know passive and active voice. They don't understand filler words. They don't know tense. They don't know little things like that. The reason why I'm showing you this is if you ever want to, as you can see, there's probably just as many red words in corrections as there are black. Black is her. Black is what I did not touch. And then the red is what I had to correct or fix or delete or rewrite for her.
Wow.
And this is normal. The reason why I chose this is because I would say that this is a normal book before it hits the bookshelf. So when you walk into Barnes & Noble, do they have Barnes & Nobles anymore? When you walk into a bookstore anywhere, or you go home and you look at your bookcase and you see all your books, every book had an editor before it was published. And this is what we do. We take it and we make it nice and happy.
Mwah! Perfecto!
But the problem is that there are so many authors who didn't care enough to learn just some of these few things that I taught you guys this morning. And these are authors that if they did not have an editor, they would never be published. Because their book would be too terrible for a publishing company to want to take a chance on them. Because a publishing company has to pay the editor. And if you are a publishing company and you see a book that needs this many corrections on every page or more, why would you want to spend your money?
Yeah, that's true.
So there is a really bad way of thinking right now for people who want to be authors. And they say, well, I'm just going to write it and, you know, they have their editors will fix it for me. And that is something that, don't do that. If you guys want to be a writer, be the best writer you can from the first get-go. Yeah, so as you can see, this red is, it's a lot, but it's normal. I chose this because it's the most normal, but as you can see, you know, yes.
What is this book called?
What is what? I don't want to say. Yeah, because I'm videoing this for a group of authors that I run, and I don't want to bust anybody out.
Oh.
I just would rather not, only because I'm being videoed. So, what?
Just join us on the Monday. Absolutely.
And
Annalise's dad is here. He's an author and he's teaching us about writing.
Maybe you could just blowing our mind.
Yeah, he really is.
Hello, how are you?
This is our principal, Mr. Benchaka.
I'm pretty much like at the 99% done mark, so kind of
He's
missed.
amazing. We're all just like in awe.
Papa, did you bring any of your books?
So, like I said, I started writing when I was in 7th grade, and my first novel didn't get published until 2007, and I just thought I would end with something kind of funny. This is a picture of me at 16 years old writing a novel in my room.
Why do you think he's older than us?
Is that your computer?
That's my brother word processor.
Dot matrix?
Yeah, dot matrix. So here's the box, and the reason why this picture is important is because this was my birthday. This was my 16th birthday, and my parents, I was using a manual typewriter my whole, up from 7th grade up until I was 16, and this was my birthday gift that year. And I had set it up, and I had been using it. If you look at the picture closer, not on the screen, you can see I've already got like 4 lines of text written.
Nice.
And I like abandoned my own birthday party and went and started writing on it, and I was so excited. But this,
That is so awesome.
but it's the only picture I have of me writing anything.
That's so cool.
So, but I hope that you guys either A, learned something, and 2, I either didn't scare you away from writing, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And I hope you learned something. So how do we fix passive voice? By adding what? By zombies. Or by cats. By cats, okay? So,
What do you guys